We are living in an age where information travels faster than ever before, yet understanding seeseems to lag behind. Every second, countless messages compete for our attention, notifications buzzing, videos auto-playing, headlines screaming for clicks. It feels as though the world is constantly speaking to us, yet very little of it truly asks us to think. In such an environment, awareness is no longer something that happens naturally. It has become something we must actively fight for. To be aware today is to be intentional, to pause in the middle of noise and ask, what is real? What matters? What deserves my attention? Ultimately, the power of awareness lies in its ability to transform both individuals and societies. It changes how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It connects us to the world and to each other. It turns information into understanding and understanding into action. In a distracted world, this power is more important than ever. The question is not whether the world will continue to be noisy. It will. The question is whether we will allow that noise to control us, or whether we will rise above it. Choosing awareness is not always easy, but it is always meaningful. It is the first step toward a more thoughtful, more compassionate, and more responsible way of living. And in a time when so much competes for our attention, that choice may be one of the most important we can make. Awareness, by itself, is only the beginning of change, not its destination. It is like opening your eyes in a dark room. You can finally see what surrounds you, but nothing in that room will change unless you decide to move. In today's world, more people than ever are becoming aware of the challenges we face, from environmental crises to social injustice, from economic inequality to the quiet struggles within our own communities. Yet awareness without action risks becoming a form of comfort, a way to acknowledge problems without truly confronting them. The urgency of this moment lies in transforming that awareness into meaningful, collective action. The problems we face today are too large, too interconnected, and too persistent for any single individual to solve alone. Climate change, for example, is not confined to one country or one group of people. Its effects ripple across borders, affecting ecosystems, economies, and lives in ways that demand a coordinated response. Similarly, issues of justice and equality are deeply rooted in systems that cannot be dismantled by isolated efforts. They require voices joining together, perspectives aligning, and actions reinforcing one another. This is why collective action is not just important, it is essential. To understand the urgency of collective action, it is important to recognize how interconnected our world has become. Decisions made in one place can have consequences far beyond their origin. A factory's emissions can contribute to global warming. A policy decision can influence millions of lives. A single idea shared online can inspire movements or spread misinformation. In such a world, individual actions still matter, but their impact multiplies when they are aligned with others. When people come together with a shared purpose, their combined efforts create momentum that is far greater than the sum of its parts. However, one of the greatest challenges we face is the tendency to remain passive. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of global issues and to believe that individual actions are insignificant. This sense of helplessness can lead to inaction, even when people care deeply about the problems around them. But this is precisely where the power of collective action becomes clear. When individuals recognize that they are not alone, that others share their concerns and are willing to act, they begin to see that change is possible. Collective action transforms isolation into solidarity and doubt into determination. Moving from awareness to action requires a shift in mindset. It means seeing ourselves not just as observers of the world, but as participants in it. It means understanding that every choice we make, no matter how small, contributes to a larger pattern. choosing to reduce waste, supporting ethical practices, speaking out against injustice, or volunteering in our communities. These actions may seem minor on their own, but when multiplied by thousands or millions of people, they become powerful forces for change. The key is not perfection but participation. Responsibility plays a central role in this process. Collective action is not about waiting for others to lead or for perfect solutions to appear. It is about recognizing that each of us has a role to play. This does not mean that everyone must contribute in the same way. People have different strengths, resources, and opportunities, and these differences can be an advantage. Some may lead movements, others may educate, others may support, and others may innovate. What matters is that everyone contributes in a way that aligns with their abilities and values. Unity is another crucial element. In a world often divided by differences in culture, belief, and perspective, coming together can be challenging. Yet it is precisely these differences that can strengthen collective action when approached with respect and openness. Diverse perspectives bring new ideas, challenge assumptions, and create more inclusive solutions. Unity does not require uniformity. It requires a shared commitment to a common goal. When people focus on what unites them rather than what divides them, they create a foundation for meaningful collaboration. The urgency of collective action is also driven by time. Many of the challenges we face are not static, they are evolving and in some cases accelerating. Environmental degradation, for instance, continues to progress, and the window for preventing its most severe consequences is narrowing. Social inequalities, if left unaddressed, can deepen and become more entrenched. Delayed action often leads to more complex and costly solutions in the future. Acting now is not just preferable, it is necessary. At the same time, it is important to recognize that collective action does not always produce immediate results. Change often takes time, and progress can be slow and uneven. This can be discouraging, especially in a culture that values quick outcomes. However, history shows that sustained collective efforts can lead to significant transformations. Movements that once seemed impossible have reshaped societies, improved rights, and created new opportunities. These achievements did not happen overnight. They were the result of persistent action by individuals who refused to remain passive. Another important aspect of collective action is communication. Sharing ideas, raising awareness, and building connections are essential for bringing people together. In the digital age, communication has become more accessible, allowing individuals to reach wider audiences and mobilize support more quickly. However, this also comes with the responsibility to communicate thoughtfully and accurately. Misinformation can undermine efforts and create division, while clear and honest communication can strengthen trust and cooperation. Trust itself is a cornerstone of effective collective action. People are more likely to collaborate when they believe in the integrity and intentions of others. Building trust requires transparency, accountability, and consistency. It also requires listening, truly listening to different perspectives and experiences. When people feel heard and respected, they are more willing to engage and contribute. Trust turns groups of individuals into cohesive communities capable of meaningful action. It is also worth noting that collective action is not limited to large-scale movements. It can begin at the local level, within neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. Small groups of committed individuals can create change that directly impacts their communities. These local efforts can then connect with larger initiatives, creating networks of action that extend outward. In this way, change grows organically from the ground up. One of the most powerful aspects of collective action is its ability to inspire. When people see others taking action, they are more likely to do the same. This creates a ripple effect, where one person's efforts encourage another's and another's, and so on. Inspiration spreads, and what once seemed like a small effort becomes part of a larger movement. This is how ideas gain momentum and how change becomes possible on a broader scale. At its core, the urgency of collective action is about recognizing that the future is shaped by what we do today. It is about understanding that inaction has consequences just as action does. Choosing not to act is, in itself, a choice, one that allows existing problems to persist or worsen. On the other hand, choosing to act, even in small ways, contributes to a different outcome. Every voice matters in this process, not because every voice will be heard by everyone, but because each voice adds to the collective chorus calling for change. Silence, on the other hand, can be interpreted as acceptance. Speaking up, even when it feels uncomfortable, is a step toward making issues visible and prompting discussion. It is through these conversations that ideas evolve and solutions emerge. Similarly, every action matters. It is easy to underestimate the impact of small steps, but they are often the building blocks of larger change. Consistent collective effort can shift norms, influence policies, and reshape systems. The key is persistence, continuing to act even when progress seems slow or challenges arise. Ultimately, the urgency of collective action is a call to move beyond awareness and into engagement. It is an invitation to participate in shaping the world rather than simply observing it. It reminds us that while the challenges we face are significant, so too is our capacity to address them when we come together. The choice before us is not whether change will happen. It always does. The choice is whether we will be active participants in that change or passive witnesses to it. By choosing to act collectively, we take ownership of our shared future. We acknowledge that while we may not control everything, we do have the power to influence the direction in which we are heading. In the end, collective action is not just about solving problems. It is about building a sense of shared purpose and responsibility. It is about recognizing that we are connected, that our actions affect one another, and that by working together, we can create a world that reflects our highest values. This is the true urgency of collective action, not just the need to act, but the opportunity to act together.